to all the participants present in today's session. I welcome you all to Sherkhan Classroom's training program on intraday trading. Before I begin the session, let me just introduce myself. Friends, my name is Fatima and I am an assistant manager with Sherkhan Classroom and I will be your instructor for today's session. Friends, Sherkhan Classroom has been training customers for over 9 years now and we have trained more than 1 lakh participants. And I, being a part of Sherkhan Classroom, will be your instructor today. Coming to the key takeaways from the session, what are the things we are going to discuss in today's training? Firstly, we will talk about what exactly is an intraday trade. What is intraday trading? And, for how long are you going to take your trade? Will it be called as an intraday trade? And what are the things that an intraday trader should keep in mind? How much time he may spend with the charts, identifying trades. All of that we will talk about in this particular section. Then, now this being a module in which we are going to learn about technical analysis. And when we talk about technical analysis, we're talking about charts. And basically on the charts, we are talking about tools or you can say indicators. So the first tool or I would say indicator that we're going to discuss about is the support and resistance. Without which I think technical analysis for a lot of people is incomplete. So first, important to understand what is the support, what is the resistance, and how can you use this support and resistance for within your trades. Now, along with the support and resistance, we will talk about another indicator, that is RSI, Relative Strength Index. Now, what is RSI? How does it look like? And how can you use it along with the support and resistance in order to identify a trade? We will discuss briefly about that. In Trading Guidelines 1 and Trading Guidelines 2, we will discuss that once we identify a trade using supports and resistances and RSI, where will be your entry, where would be the stop loss, and what would be the target. So, entry, stop loss, and target is what we are going to discuss about in the Trading Guidelines. And then we will come to an extremely important topic of money management. So what exactly is money management and how can you use these money management guidelines, and exactly why is it so very important for a trader to take a trade checking the money management guidelines and if they are fulfilled or not? We will talk about that in this particular section. We will take a look at, based on certain criteria, how do you select a best trade? Let's say you find a couple of trades. How do you select a best trade out of those? We will talk about that. And in the end of the training, we will take a quick recap as to whatever we discussed during the session. So it remains fresh in your mind. So you can go ahead and take an intraday trade. So without further delay, coming to what is intraday trading. As the name suggests, intraday, within a day. So when you take a trade, let's say today, and today itself before the markets close, so today itself before 3:30, when you decide to exit from your position, or when your view itself is that you're taking a trade with a view that the targets will be achieved on the same day itself, that is known as an intraday trade. So an entire trade, taking the trade and squaring it off, the entire trade should be taken off within one particular day. That is known as an intraday trade. Now, as an intraday trader, coming to the time frame for trades, what do I mean by time frame for trades? So, based on your style of trading, now as a trader, you're going to look at charts. And on the charts, there is a specific time frame that you look at, depending upon your style of trading. So, a person who's willing to keep his position open for even 8 to 10 days for that matter is basically a short-term trader. And a short-term trader, since he has some more time for actually, achieving the targets, he might look at a higher time frame chart like a 60 minutes or a daily chart. Whereas somebody like a positional trader who's willing to keep his position open for maybe even a month or so for achieving the targets, he might use a daily or a weekly chart. An intraday trader Since his entire trade is to be executed, since his entire trade is to be taken within one single day itself, looking at a daily chart does not make sense. And therefore, he will use something like a 15 minutes or a 5 minutes chart. So, in today's session, personally, I suggest stick to using a 15 minutes chart. And if I find nothing on a 15 minutes chart, only then I will go to a 5 minutes chart. So, that's an approach that we are going to follow in today's session as well. We will go to a 15 minutes chart and we will see how to identify intraday trades on a 15 minutes chart. So intraday trading, as it says over here, act today only because tomorrow might be too late. Now, since we're talking about intraday trading, I just wanted to clear off some concepts before we go any further. Friends, are you aware about what short selling is or short? So, okay, some of our friends over here may not be very clear with the concept. So let's just very quickly go through that. Let's say current market price of a stock is somewhere around randomly 500 rupees. And my expectation is that the price is going to go up to 510. So in this case, what will I do? I will buy at 500 and when the price goes up, I will sell it off at 510. Buying first, expecting that the prices are going to go up. When they go up, selling it off. This is known as taking a long position. So long position, short position has nothing to do with how long are you keeping your trade for. No. If you are buying first, expecting prices to go up, that is known as taking a long position. On the other hand, let's say price is 500 and I'm expecting that the prices might go down to 490 in the near future. Now in this case, what can I do? Should I wait for prices to come to 490 again, then buy, again go to 500 and sell? No. For that reason, we have been given the option of short selling. So I can short sell something, that is I can sell something first at 500 rupees, expecting the prices to go down. When they go down, I will buy it back at a lower level. This is known as covering your position. So selling something first, friends, you have not bought it, you have not bought these shares, you don't have it in your demat, you don't have it in your receivables. Still, you can sell something first when you're expecting the prices to go down, and when they go down, you're buying it back. This is known as covering your position. This is known as taking a short position. So the option given on Trade Tiger for this is SAM, sell against margin. If you must have come across this, I will just show you. So right click. Let's say I think Adani is going to go down. Right click, sell against margin. This is the option for short selling. Now, why am I covering this concept to you in this particular module is because in equity, short selling is completely an intraday concept. You cannot short sell for more than a day in equity. So any shares, any equity shares that you short sell, you will have to cover it before 3:15 or 3:30 on the same day itself before the markets close. Or it will go as per the auction settlement cycle. But in any case, you will not be able to take your short position for more than a day in equity. That is the reason why I have covered this particular concept in intraday trading module. We have covered the intraday concepts. We are clear about the options we have. Now, let's take a look at how can we identify a trade in intraday trading. Is everybody with me till here? Coming to an introduction to support and resistance. So this is the first, I would say, first tool or indicator that we are going to talk about, a support and resistance. Support and resistance is nothing but the turning point of a price action. So if the prices have gone down, here they take a turn and then they start going up. The turning points, so prices are going down, from here they take a turn and start going up. Over here where the prices have taken a turn, that you can mark as your support. Now prices are going up, from here they take a turn and start coming down. This area right here you can mark as your resistance. Prices are going down, taking a turn, come up is your support. Prices have gone up, taking a turn, come down is your resistance. And this is how you can mark the turning points as your supports and resistances. Now, what is a support and resistance actually going to help you take a trade? How is a support and resistance going to help you take a trade? So, when the prices come close to the support area, I can expect it to take a turn and go back up. That means support area may give you a buying opportunity going ahead. On the other hand, when the prices come close to the resistance, I can expect it to take a turn and move back down, and therefore the resistance area going ahead may give you a short selling opportunity. So support area may give you a buying opportunity, resistance area may give you a short selling opportunity going ahead. And this is how a support and resistance actually is. So friends, a lot of people when they talk about support and resistance, they mark just the turning points. Demand and supply zone is something very similar to a support and resistance. One difference between a demand and supply zone and support and resistance could be that a demand and supply zone like I marked right now. So basically, people usually mark support as this turning point and this turning point. Whereas a demand zone is an area. So this zone is the demand and this zone is the supply. So the concepts are kind of pretty similar. Just a few differences, but demand supply zone, support and resistance are pretty similar like that. So we're talking about support and resistance, and as I said, support and resistance will not be a single point. So let me just go to the charts and show you how to mark these. I'll just randomly click on a script. So when I double click on a script, by default you get the previous time frame that you had opened. So possibly I had opened a daily chart previously and therefore daily chart has opened for me. I'll just take a full screen view here. I'm increasing the price, the width a little bit so that everybody can view this chart properly. You do not have to do that for yourself. Coming back to this, so I agree that a lot of traders do use volumes as confirmations, do use volumes as for trading as well. But personally, I think volumes can get a little misguiding. So personally, since I'm not going to use it, I'm removing it right now. I mentioned in the very beginning that we are going to use either a 15 minutes or a 5 minutes chart. For that, to change the time frame, I'll go to the small box down here and say I want a 15 minutes chart. Now if you see this is a 15 minutes single day chart. But the data required to do any kind of a technical analysis, I'll definitely require a little more data than this. This is very little data. And therefore, personally, I always suggest that if you are going to use a time frame anywhere lesser than a daily chart, always use a 30-day data. So 15 minutes, 30 days. 15 minutes, 30 days is the data we are going to use, and you can see now I have quite a lot of data for me to do any kind of an analysis. So always use a 30 days data. Possibly you're not going to use the entire data for your trades right now, but whenever you are applying any kind of a study, this makes it more convenient for you to do so. Now over here I can clearly see prices have gone up. From this point, taken a turn and starts moving down. I can mark this as my resistance. Prices have come down, from here gone up is your support. But as I said, demand and supply zone, that's the same way, support and resistance can never be one single point. I cannot say that going ahead if the prices come to this level, this exact point, it will take a turn and go down. It has to be an area of support and resistance, and this particular line chart is not going to allow me, it's not going to really help me find the area of support and resistance. And that is the reason why instead of using the line chart, we will use something else that is known as a candlesticks chart. So in order to get a candlesticks chart, what will you do? Right click, chart types, candlesticks, or I'll simply press C on the keyboard, and that's how I get a candlesticks chart. So this is a nice candlesticks chart for me, and now it is easier for me to mark my supports and resistances. I can see prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down, Control H. For marking my resistance, I will mark the highest high. Highest high is the high of this particular red candle. Highest close. Now how do I find the highest close? This white dot, can you see over here? That is basically your tracker ball. So I would always suggest you keep your mouse pointer as a tracker ball. So right click, mouse pointer, tracker ball. This will tell you the close of each and every candle. Like this red candle's close is down here. This green candle's close is up here. This green candle's close is up here. Highest close of the entire area is the close of this green candle. That I will mark as my resistance. Now prices have come down. From here they take a turn and start going up. Control H to mark my support. I will mark my lowest low. Lowest close. So the close of this red candle is down here. This green candle is way up here. This red candle is down here. So this close is the lowest close. I mark that for my support. Highest high, highest close is your resistance. Lowest low, lowest close is your support. You can see prices came to this resistance area, took a turn and started going down. So highest high, highest close is your resistance. Lowest low, lowest close is your support. And that's how you can mark your supports and resistances. Now coming to the next point, that is area of basing. What is an area of basing? Can anyone tell me? Anybody has an idea? Area of basing? Not exactly. So area of basing is basically when there is an indecision between the buyers and sellers. You know, you don't know whether the buyers are taking control or sellers are taking control. Prices are just moving within a range for a longer period of time. Let's say between 200 and 205, prices are moving just between this range for a longer period of time. That is known as an area of basing. Now, about area of basing. Once you see an area of basing, then what? So, how is area of basing actually going to help you, or what indication does it give you? So, area of basing, friends, going ahead, can even act as a support or resistance. How? Let me give you an idea. So, over here, I can see prices have come down. From here, they take a turn and start going up. I will mark my support. You can mark your lowest low, lowest close as well. I'm just showing you a basing area, and therefore I'm just showing you the range. I'm not marking the lowest low, lowest close. So prices have come down, taken a turn, started moving up, support. Over here, prices have gone up. This green candle shows you prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down, your resistance. And when I see prices tried to break the support, they couldn't, they closed within it. Again, try to break the support, they couldn't. Prices are just moving in this particular range for quite some period of time. Almost an entire day, almost a couple of hours, prices were moving in this range bound movement. That is known as an area of basing. So, what about an area of basing? Friends, one thing. A support once broken going ahead may act as a resistance. A resistance once broken going ahead may act as a support. So, a support once broken may act as a resistance. A resistance once broken may act as a support. Whereas, a basing area once broken, the entire area may act as an area of support or an area of resistance. Means to say that if the prices break the resistance, going ahead, whenever the prices come within this area, within these levels, I can expect it to take a turn and go back up. Whereas if the prices had broken the support, whenever the prices come within the basing area, I can expect it to take a turn and go back down. Let's see what happens. Prices have broken the support. So over here also prices have used the basing area as a resistance. Prices have come within the basing area. I can expect that the prices might not break the basing area and go up, but they might take a turn and go down, and possibly I might take a short sell over here and see. So prices used this basing area as a resistance, took a turn and went down. Clear? So this basing area concept is like a back study. So let's say this was the candle which was forming. This was the candle which was getting formed. I realized when I went behind that there was this sideways movement which was happening in the stock for some period of time. So possibly there were chances that prices would take a turn and go back down, and therefore I would have taken a short sell over here. That's about a basing area. Simple words, basing area going ahead may act as a support or a resistance. Now there are certain things to remember about a support and resistance as well. First, support and resistance becomes weak. How is it possible? Because support and resistance, as I said, is the basis of technical analysis, can be used in any time frame, any chart, etc., etc. And now I am only saying support and resistance becomes weak. So for that reason, I usually, for that particular concept, I usually give an example which I find very appropriate. Let's say I have a hammer and I hit the hammer on the wall the very first time. What are the chances that the wall will break in the very first time? Most probably not. Chances are less. The chances are very less, almost negligible. When I hit the hammer on the wall for the second time, now what are the chances that the wall will break in the second time? It may or may not break, but at least we are sure that the chances are more than the first time. More chances to break, at least as compared to the first time. The exact same concept applies to a support and resistance. Think about the prices as a hammer. Think about support and resistance as a wall. So when the prices hit the support or resistance for the first time, chances are less that the prices might break the support or resistance, and possibly I would take a trade over there. But when the prices hit the support or resistance for the second time, chances are more that the prices would break the support or resistance, and therefore I would avoid taking a trade there. Let me give you an example here. I can see prices have gone up. From here they take a turn and start going down. Control H, highest high, highest close. I mark my resistance. Prices have gone down. First time when the prices come within the resistance, chances are less that the prices might just break the resistance and go way on the top. Possibly I might take a short sell over here and see prices have gone down. Second time when the prices came within the resistance area, see, you can see it breaks the resistance and goes up. That is the reason why I say that when the prices hit the support or resistance for the first time, only during that time I will take it seriously and I will take the trade. Second time or third time I will avoid taking a trade. Now the question arises, Fatima, can I take a buy trade over here instead? If the prices are going to break the resistance in the second time, then should I take a buy trade over here because prices are going to go up? No. For that, let me give you an example. Over here, prices have gone up. taken a turn, come down, control H, highest high, highest close, resistance, prices have gone down. First time prices come close to the resistance or within the resistance, chances are less that the prices might break the resistance and go up, and therefore I might take a short sell over here. And see, prices have gone down. Second time the prices come within the resistance, chances are higher that the prices might break the resistance and go on the top. So question arises, should I take a buy trade over here? No, because see what happens. Prices did take a turn and go back down. And third time the prices broke the resistance. But one thing you must have noticed, extent to which it went down in the first time and the extent to which it went down in the second time, there's a difference between that as well. First time the prices went down with a higher force, second time it went with a lower force. It's like a ball. Throw a ball on the ground, first time it will bounce higher, second time it will bounce lower, keep getting lower and lower. That is the reason why, simply put, take a trade only when the prices come close to the support or the resistance for the first time. If the prices come close to the support or resistance for the second time or third time or fourth time, you will avoid taking a trade. Here, so this is about a support and resistance. Coming to the last point about the support and resistance, friends, I am sure that there might be some confusions. All your confusions as to which support and resistance to mark first, how do we come to know if the prices are near a basing or not, all of that, this particular point is going to clear it all out. Recent is equal to stronger. That what happens currently is the most important as compared to what happened historically. If you think about even anything in life, think about breakfast. If I ask you what did you have for breakfast today, you would definitely be able to tell me. Yesterday, still possible. If I ask you what did you have for breakfast 3 months ago, possibly not. The same way, any kind of a technical analyst will be more interested in what is happening currently in the stock and lesser interested in what happened 1 month or 2 months ago. And therefore, even to mark the support and resistance, why go for something which is very historic? We will mark the support and resistance on what is going on currently in that particular stock. So that is the reason why when you start marking your supports and resistances, start marking from the extreme right of the chart, then keep moving towards the left. So let me just show you this. So this, when I have to mark my support and resistance, I will go to the extreme right of the chart. This is the current market price. Above this, prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down. This you can see was at this prior resistance, highest high, highest close. So this resistance was at this prior resistance. Above this, prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down. This is your second resistance, third resistance. Below this current market price, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. This is your support. For your support, and this support is also at the prior support, I believe, lowest low, lowest close. Yes. So it's almost touching the prior support. Below this, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up, lowest low, lowest close. Again at a prior support. Going back, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. This is your another support. This is another support. This is another support. So all these are your various supports. and all these are your resistances. But to take a trade right now, the most important support and the most important resistance is this support and this resistance. However, both of these are used, so the next support and resistance will be given more importance. What should we call the third candle from the left? Are you talking about this? The green one? Okay. So this is a support. See, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. Lowest low, this is a support. But when I marked this support, I realized that this support was formed at this prior support. Prices had come down, taken a turn, gone up. Then again prices touched this support and went up. So this is a support, but it is at a prior support, and that is why I just got it down. Because it's already showing that it's now a used support. Alright. So is this not a resistance? So prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down. This is a resistance as well, but this resistance is also at a prior resistance. Support is also at a prior support. This one candle does not portray. You have to see the turning point, the turning area, the entire area, I would say. Okay. Possibly let me take another script as well. Give you a better idea. Then what about recent? That is the most recent, Mr. Sushil. That's the whole point. That was a support which was recently formed, but when I checked going behind, it was at a prior support. So now it is used. It's the second time. When I said recent is equal to stronger, before that I said supports and resistances becomes weak. So there was a support formed previously, and now this support was actually a turning point of the previous support. You're getting what I'm saying? Okay. This one. So over here, this candle is being formed. Okay, so I cannot call this a support, I cannot call this a resistance. Above this green candle slightly shows that prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down. A resistance here, a resistance here. Below this, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. Lowest low, this is this is the first support. Because this is not clearly a support, because I've not decided whether it is green or red yet. Below this, prices had gone down, taken a turn, gone up, control edge. This is another support. But when I see, this is at this prior support. Above this green candle shows prices had slightly gone up, taken a turn, come down. This is another resistance. This is another resistance, and so on. So I can keep going towards the left, and please I can keep going towards the left, and I can keep marking the different supports and resistances. But right now, the most important one is the very first support and very first resistance. The others we will use, but for setting your targets a little later on. Okay? Everybody with me? How to use this for your trades, friends? Question may arise that Fatima, when do I take a buy, when do I take a short sell using this particular concept? I have purposely not covered that point is because only based on supports and resistances you will not take an entire trade is what we suggest. You will have to combine the support and resistance with another, I would say, indicator as a confirmation, and that other indicator that we are going to talk about is RSI, Relative Strength Index. So after we understand RSI, we will see how to combine RSI with a support and resistance for exactly taking your trade. So don't worry about that. Secondly, friends, if you think you still have a little confusion about support and resistance, don't worry. That's okay. All of this technical analysis is like driving. Until and unless you sit on the driving seat, you will not be able to get the confidence. Same way, until and unless you go ahead and spend time with the charts, you will not be able to get the confidence regarding all of this. So I would just request you to spend some time with the chart and try marking all of this on your own. Third point is that, friends, we are going to send you certain training material on your registered email ID, which will have everything that we are discussing in today's training. So the PPT that I'm referring to and all of it will be there in the training material. You don't need to worry about the revision part. Right now, just stay with me and understand the concepts. Revision part will all be taken care of with the training material. Sounds good? Can we move to RSI? Okay, great. Friends, one thing I just wanted to mention that there are people who use something like pivot points and even retracement points and all of that for marking supports and resistances. You can do so, it's not wrong. Personally, I prefer marking them manually like we learned today. So you can do so as well. Now coming to introduction to RSI, Relative Strength Index. This is a particular indicator which was introduced by Mr. Wilder, and he did a calculation on the prices in such a way that RSI would not go above 100, nor would it go below 0. RSI would keep moving between 0 and 100, and that is the reason why it's even known as a price oscillator, because it oscillates between 0 and 100. Now, one thing, let me be very clear. Even though in today's session we are seeing how can we use RSI on a 15 minutes chart in order to identify an intraday trade, does not mean RSI can only work on a 15 minutes chart. No. You can use RSI on an hourly chart, daily chart, etc. as well. Secondly, it's not necessary that only RSI can work for intraday trade. You can use any other indicator, maybe even with RSI, for confirmation of your trades. Today's session, we are going to take a look at RSI with support and resistance for identifying an intraday trade on a 15 minutes chart. So, coming to the characteristics of RSI, what does RSI actually help you do? RSI will give you overbought and oversold regions. What is overbought and what is oversold? It's like something that we use in a day-to-day life. We will definitely understand whether it is expensive at a point in time or whether it is cheap or affordable. Every day we use something, we will know that, right now it's very expensive, I will avoid buying it, or possibly given a chance, even sell it. And if it is cheap or affordable at a point in time, I might even buy more of it. But how do I come to know whether a stock or a currency or a commodity is expensive or whether it is cheap at a point in time? Is through this RSI. So RSI, if I had to add RSI over here, right click, study, add study. or simply press S on the keyboard, RR. SRR on the keyboard and you get relative strength index right here. Do not require the middle line. I will deselect it. Just going to the subgraph, increasing this. You do not have to do that. This is just so that you will be able to see it better. And this is how RSI looks like. This is basically how RSI looks like. Now, if you can see over here, there are two lines. There is a red line and there is a green line. Red line is the average RSI line. Green line is the RSI line. Now, different people would use this particular indicator differently. Some people would keep the middle line and say if the green line goes above the middle line, it is a buy. If the green line goes below the middle line, it is a short sell. Some people use the red and green line crossovers, like if the green line goes above the red line, it's a buy. If the green line goes below the red line, it is a short sell. So as I said, the red line is the average RSI line, green line is the RSI line. So RSI and the average of that is this red line. But friends, all of these two, so middle line crossover or red or green line crossover is something we are not going to use. Because one thing you must have seen that when the prices are kind of sideways, so many false indications. Therefore, we are going to use a third thing which is known as divergences, for which I do not require the red line. So if you want to remove the red line, what you can do is just go over here, double click, deselect this and say apply, and the red line is gone from. Now, as per Mr. Wilder, he said that if RSI goes above 70, means the stock is overbought, and overbought means it is expensive. And since it is expensive, I will short sell. So, above 70, whenever RSI goes above 70, means the stock is overbought. On the other hand, he said that if RSI goes below 30, that is this line, means the stock is oversold. Means it is cheap. Now it's affordable and therefore I can take a buy over here. He said that if RSI was between these 30 and 70 lines, you will avoid taking a trade. Take a trade only when the stock is in the overbought or oversold region. Now, based on that concept, can you tell me that in this entire chart, how many times was Century Textile in the oversold region? Yes, oversold below 30. How many times is Century in the oversold region? Just once? Now, possibly this is your favorite stock. You would definitely want, as a trader, especially as an intraday trader, you would definitely want more opportunities in order to trade. But over here, you're just getting one opportunity in order to buy this particular stock. And therefore, friends, we made one small change in Mr. Wilder's rule. Instead of taking the parameters as 70 and 30, we changed the parameters to 60 and 40. So, universally 70 and 30 is used, but as per the Indian market, we've seen that 60 and 40 work better. Now you have more opportunities in order to buy this particular stock. Now 4 times, right? Now, as per Mr. Wilder, if the stock is in the overbought region, I will take a short sell. So this is in the overbought region, above 60 overbought. I took a short sell, prices are going up. Still moving up, still moving up, still moving up. This is still in the overbought region, still overbought. I'm sure the stop loss must have hit by now. So is Mr. Wilder's rule wrong? No. Friends, only overbought, so a stock or a currency or a commodity can remain in the overbought region or oversold region for a longer period of time, and therefore only overbought and oversold regions may not help you take a trade. You will have to combine it with something else which is known as divergences. So I would just request all of you to just pay a little attention to what exactly are divergences. So as I said that RSI is nothing but a calculation on the prices. So basically if the prices are going down, RSI also going down, prices going up, RSI going up. Prices going down, RSI going down, prices going up, RSI also going up. However, there is one small difference. Prices are making a lower low, RSI on the other hand is making a higher low. Prices are making a lower low, RSI is making a higher low. This is a positive or a bullish divergence. So for a positive or a bullish divergence, you have to keep a few things in mind. First, stock should be in the oversold region. Oversold region means RSI should be below 40. Once it is in the oversold region, I will look for a positive divergence. For a positive divergence, I will compare the lows of the prices with the lows of the RSI, and it should form like this closed mouth, widening towards the end. This is a positive or a bullish divergence. On the other hand, let's say prices are going up, RSI going up, prices going down, RSI going down, prices going up, RSI going up. Prices going down, RSI also going down. Again, there is one small difference. Prices are making a higher high, RSI on the other hand is making a lower high. Prices are making a higher high, RSI is making a lower high. This is a negative or a bearish divergence. So for a negative or a bearish divergence, you have to keep a few things in mind. First, stock should be in the overbought region. Overbought region means RSI should be above 60. Once it is in the overbought region, I will look for a bearish divergence. For a bearish divergence, I will compare the highs of the prices with the highs of the RSI. It should form like this open mouth, widening towards the end. This is a bearish or a negative divergence. Let's just go and take a look at these divergences on the chart. So possibly you will be able to understand it better. For which, friends, I've kind of maintained a trade journal. So this is the kind of a trade journal I have maintained. Ashok Leyland. Okay. For a positive divergence, yes. So this is the chart of Ashok Leyland. Over here, clearly I can see Ashok Leyland was in the overbought region or oversold region. Can you tell me? Oversold? Completely correct. Since it is in the oversold region, I will look for a positive divergence. For a positive divergence, I will compare the lows of the prices with the lows of the RSI. So Control F. Prices are clearly making a lower low. Control F. RSI on the other hand is making a higher low. Prices are making a lower low. RSI on the other hand is making a higher low. This is a positive or a bullish divergence. So yes, closed mouth, narrowing towards the end. You can see this is going downwards, this is going upwards. It's forming like a closed mouth, narrowing towards the end. this is a positive or a bullish classic divergence. Why am I calling this a classic divergence? Is because I am comparing more than 2 candles. You can see around 6 to 7 candles here. I am comparing the lows of around 6 to 7 candles with the lows of the RSI and identifying a divergence. Let's take a look at a negative classic divergence. Possibly in Axis Bank. So this is the chart of Axis Bank. I can see that Axis Bank over here was in the overbought region. Even if a part of the divergence is in the overbought or oversold region, it still can be considered as a divergence. So over here, overbought region, I will compare the highs of the prices. Prices are making a higher high, control F. RSI on the other hand is not making a higher high, it's making a lower high. Prices are making a higher high, RSI on the other hand is making a lower high. This is a negative classic divergence. More than 2 candles, open mouth widening towards the end. This is a negative classic divergence. So, classic divergence is when there are more than a few candles. So, there is another kind of a divergence as well that we have identified. That is a candle divergence. So, as one of our friends is asking about a candle divergence. So, candle divergence is basically the same open mouth and closed mouth that we are talking about, but not with the highs and lows of a few candles, but you're comparing the highs and lows of just 2 candles next to each other, and you're comparing it with the slope of the RSI. So let's take those examples as well. Positive candle divergence. Let's just take today's example. This area below candle should be called as a support or a resistance. I will come to it, Mr. Sushil. Just give me a minute. You will take a look at exactly how can you take a trade using this with support and resistance. Okay, so this is today's chart of Bharat Forge. Today at 10 o'clock, I can see this was in the oversold region. I will look for a positive divergence. Control F, prices are making a lower low. Control F, on the other hand, RSI slope going upwards. Prices are making a lower low, RSI slope going upwards. This is a positive candle divergence because I'm comparing just 2 candles next to each other. I'm comparing it with the slope of the RSI. So positive candle divergence. Let me show you a negative candle divergence as well. Negative candle divergence. Again, today's chart itself. Over here, clearly in the overbought region, I will look for a negative divergence. For a negative divergence, control F. Prices are making a higher high. RSI on the other hand is making a lower high. Or I would say RSI slope is going downwards. So prices are making a higher high, RSI slope is going downwards. This is the negative candle divergence. Classic divergence or candle divergence is to see in how many minute chart to a trade. Mr. Vijay, we are looking at a 15 minutes chart, and I would say for a classic divergence, do not look for a divergence for more than 8 to 10 candles. Considering 3 to 4 candles or to 8 to 10 candles, do not go for a divergence between more than 8 to 10 candles. And this is Bharat for today's chart. You can see this was a negative divergence. Now coming to Mr. Chaitanya, I will come to your question. I believe classic or candle divergence is a question which is repeatedly asked. Just give me a minute. I will come to that. So, coming to trading guidelines 1, trading guidelines 1 will tell you that if you see a classic divergence, then what should your trade be like? So, trading guideline 1, use 15 minutes or a 5 minutes chart. Add RSI, look for classic divergence below and above 40 and 60 RSI. I believe with this slide, Mr. Aslam, I believe your question is answered. So you can use a 15 minutes or a 5 minutes chart. Now, long trade. So once you see a classic divergence, what should your trade be like? Entry. After a positive classic divergence, enter long only above the immediate area of resistance. Stop loss will be below the immediate bottom. Target next area of resistance. Short trade. After a negative classic divergence, enter short only below the immediate area of support. Stop loss will be above the immediate top or high. Target next area of support. Let's just go to the charts and take a look at this. Ashok Leyland, positive classic divergence is what we saw over here between these two candles. So wherever you see a divergence, so between these two candles, whichever is the highest point, above that, so this is the highest point between the two candles, above that is your entry. So immediate area of resistance, because prices have gone up, this green candle shows you that prices had gone up, taken a turn, come down. Entry will be above that. Between these two candles where you see a divergence, stop loss, lowest point below that is your stop loss. And above the entry point, prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down. This will be your first target. This will be your second target. Once again, between these two points, wherever you have seen the divergence, highest point above that is your entry. Between these two candles, whichever is the lowest point, below that is your stop loss. Target next area of resistance. So above the entry point, prices have slightly gone up, taken a turn, come down. That is your target. And target achieved. Now, a few things that I have taken this example specifically because over here, if you can see the day separator, entry you got in on the 6th of Jan, but your target was achieved on the 7th. So this might be the best of trades, but if you're getting an entry anywhere after 2:30, I would say avoid taking a trade for that day, because then it will not be an intraday trade and you will not have enough time for your targets to be achieved on the same day. So this trade actually worked. It worked in fact really well. But because entry itself was, gotten at 3 o'clock, target was achieved but on the next day. So this wouldn't be an intraday trade. So the best time to enter into a trade in an intraday is anywhere before, I would say, 1:32. If you get an entry after that, you may avoid taking a trade. Clear? Another thing, based on yesterday's divergence, if you're getting an entry directly today, that is also valid. That is still is something that you can consider for taking a trade. Coming to a positive classic divergence. I'm sorry, a negative classic divergence this time. So negative classic divergence we saw in Axis Bank. So this is what I was talking about. Now over here, Axis Bank, between these two candles, lowest point, below that is your entry. So I would say between the 2 points, whichever is the lowest point where the prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. So let's say this is the candle which is forming immediate area of support where prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. Below that is your entry. Between these 2 points, whichever is the highest point, above that is your stop loss. Target, next area of support. So below the entry point, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. This is your first support. So that is your first target. This would be your second target. Will I go for this trade or not is a different question based on other factors. But ideally, based on whatever divergence we saw, this is what your trade should be like. So between the 2 points, lowest point, below that is your entry. Between the 2 points, highest point, above that is your stop loss. Target, below the entry point, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. Next area of support is your target. On the same day itself, you did not get an entry. Entry and target achieved on the next day, first candle itself. So based on the divergence of second, I took a trade on the third. Are you getting my point? This is what I was talking about. Based on yesterday's divergence, you can take a trade on the next day. Now, can we sell the script short for more than a day in future? Do you mean to say that, Mr. Ajit? You can definitely do so. So, based on the divergence that you see in equity, you can take a trade in futures and options as well for more than a day. But I would say that if you have identified a trade based on your view that it is for an intraday trade, then in that case, do not carry forward your slip for the next day. Keep it and stick to intraday trade. Book your positions on the same day itself is what I would suggest. Okay. Coming to trading guidelines 2, that is, if you see a candle divergence, then what should your trade be like? So, candle divergence, friends, please stick to a 15 minutes chart for a candle divergence. Do not go for a 5 minutes chart. Why? Because you are basing your trades just on the divergence between 2 candles. And that means if you take a 5 minutes chart, you will be basing your trades on the movement of just 10 minutes, which may not be very reliable. That is the reason why if you're looking for a candle divergence, stick to a 15 minutes chart, add RSI, look for divergences below and above 40 and 60. Then, I will look at PVR also. Give me some time. Give me 5 minutes. Long trade. After a positive candle divergence, enter long only above the high of the last candle. Stop loss will be below the last candle's low. Target next area of resistance. Short trade. Entry. After a negative candle divergence, enter short only below the low of the last candle. Stop loss will be above the last candle's high. Target is the next area of support. Candle divergence in, let's say, Bharat Forge. Today's chart itself, Bharat Forge, positive candle divergence. In a candle divergence, friends, second candle plays the most important role. Entry above the high of the second candle, stop loss below the low of the second candle itself, and target is the next area of resistance. So above the entry point, so this green candle shows prices have slightly gone up, taken a turn, come down. This is your target, and I believe target achieved. Entry you got in the very next candle itself, target was achieved on the same day. Friends, if there is a candle and a classic divergence somewhere, give more importance to the classic divergence, because classic divergence is said to be comparatively slightly higher probability trade as compared to a candle divergence. Okay, I'm not saying candle divergence does not work, but if at a point there are both, give more importance to a classic divergence and base your trade based on the classic divergence. Here, let's go for a short trade. Ashok Leyland. So this is a chart of Ashok Leyland. Over here I can see Ashok Leyland clearly in the overbought region. Since it is in the overbought region, I will look for a negative divergence. Prices have made a higher high, RSI sloping downwards. This is a negative candle divergence. I will look for, so second candle playing the most important role. Entry below the low of the second candle. Stop loss above the high of the second candle. And target is the next area of support. So below the entry point, prices have come down, taken a turn, gone up. Or I would say the small basing area would be your target. Now, one thing, friends, that why do I keep saying, okay, if I had to see another example as well over here also. Negative divergence, entry below the low of the second candle, stop loss above the high of the second candle, target next area of support. So this gap over here can act as a support. Second support will be here. Okay. Now, one thing, friends, that why do I keep saying entry below the low of this candle, stop loss above the high of the candle? Why don't I say entry at the low and at the high? Because you will always keep a buffer for a classic as well as a candle. Buffer means I do not have my entry at the low of this but a little lower. I do not keep my stop loss at the high of this candle but a little higher than that. Target will be the next area of support. Why? Because at times certain stocks are very volatile, and just because of volatility, I don't want my trades to be executed. I don't want my entry or stop loss to get triggered just because of fluctuations in the prices, and that is the reason why you always keep a buffer for entry and stop loss, be it classic divergence or candle divergence. Doesn't matter. How much buffer? It could be somewhere around 0.10% of the current market price. Okay. So, okay, 0.10% if I had to explain, if the stock is somewhere around 1900, you would keep a buffer of 1 rupee 90 paise. If the stock is 500, keep a buffer of 50 paise for entry and stop loss. Stock is 200, keep a buffer of 20 to 30 paise for entry and stop loss. That way. PVR, this is a negative candle divergence in PVR. Alright, I believe one of our friends was asking us. So, this is the PVR stock. Friends, how do I select the stocks? There are so many stocks which are there. I would suggest, so friends, big trade you will be only, okay, 10th of Jan. Are you talking anything about this? No, that's not a divergence. And secondly, is it in the overbought or oversold region here? The first thing is to check whether it is in the overbought or oversold region. This is neither in the overbought nor the oversold region. So this is first thing, the trade will be over here. This is above 60, not here. This is between 40 and 60 and therefore that will be rejected right away over here. And secondly, it's not a divergence. Prices are not making a lower low, nor is this making a higher low. Alright? Today you can call this a negative candle divergence and if you get an entry. So I was saying that if you have to scan through the stocks, how will you do so? So I usually suggest that trade in stocks which have decent volumes to trade in. And the stocks which are there in the big trade list usually have decent volumes to trade in. So you go to this chart book, predefined market watch, big trade list. And like this, you can just scan through the stocks. So first thing, first screener, you just have to check whether it is in the overbought or oversold region. If not, you can move ahead. So this is 56 approximately, neither overbought nor oversold. Moving ahead. Nothing here again. So like this, I can just scan through the stocks and check whether any kind of a divergence or anything is forming. If not, I'll just move ahead. So this was a negative candle divergence yesterday. You can see it really worked well. Okay. Bajaj Auto. Negative candle divergence today itself. Over here, positive candle. This is again a positive candle divergence, but neither in overbought or oversold region. So move ahead. Like this, you can just scan through the stocks. See, Bank Baroda as well. There was a positive candle divergence today morning. Nice one. Okay, let me just mark this. Prices have made a lower low. RSI slope going upwards. Second candle playing the most important role. Entry above the high of the second candle. Stop loss below the low of the second candle itself. Target above this, prices have gone up, taken a turn, come down. Highest high, highest close. So this somewhere between this would be your target. Targets achieved. Let me just put this on the chart. So over here, let me just put this in my trade journal, in fact. Candle divergence in Bank Baroda, 96.9 entry. $96.9 stop loss 96.35, 96.35 and target was 97.9. This is a positive candle divergence. Now, let's say I have around 1 lakh rupees in order to trade. So with 1 lakh, how many shares would I be able to buy? 1 lakh divided by around 1032 shares I would be able to buy of this particular company. Let's say to my bad luck, stop loss gets hit. So stop loss is how much? Loss per share is around 55 paise and therefore loss in trade 1 would be somewhere around 567 rupees. Let's say this trade 1 is a loss making trade, possibly trade 2. So my bad luck is also a loss making trade. Friends, as a trader, if anybody has taken trades before, you would definitely be able to relate to this, that one loss making trade, second loss making trade, third trade you would not want to go for. You would be very, very scared, very, very cautious before going for the third trade. And therefore, in order to help you with that, you have to follow certain guidelines before you enter into any kind of a trade. And these guidelines are the money management guidelines. So what is money management? It is the difference between what do you want and what can you afford. You need to have a proper risk-reward ratio in order to trade. Friends, why money management is important? Because think about it. You have one situation in which you enter into a trade not knowing how much loss you can make, and God forbid it leads to a big loss. Whereas scenario 2, before taking the trade itself, you have defined for yourself you don't want to take a loss of more than 1% or 2% of your capital. I know that come what may, my trade is such that I cannot make a loss of more than 2000 rupees. Which trade will give you more confidence? Trade 1 or trade 2? Of course, when you have defined how much is the maximum loss. And that is the reason why following these guidelines are very, very important. So, always firstly have a proper risk reward ratio. What is risk? The difference between entry and stop loss is your risk. The difference between target and entry is your reward. So let's take an example. Let's say you have taken a total of 100 trades during a particular period in which hit ratio is 50%. Hit ratio is what? Number of profitable trades out of 100. Friends, if you've done proper technical analysis, you'll definitely have a better hit ratio. This is just taking the worst case scenario. If you've kept your risk reward ratio as 1:1, what does this mean? That if your profit potential is 10 rupees, loss potential is also 10 rupees. If you have taken trades like that, what will happen? Number of profitable trades 50, total profit is 50. Loss making trades 50, total loss is 50. In the end, you will be left with nothing. Whatever time, efforts, everything you have spent is all extra. And for that reason, friends, all the professional traders as well as we suggest always have a risk reward ratio of at least 1:2. So, keeping everything else constant, if you keep a risk reward ratio of 1:2, what will happen? Number of profitable trades 50, total profit is 100. Loss making trades 50, total loss is 50, and in the end, you will at least be left with 50 rupees as your profit. That is the reason why, friends, always maintain a proper risk reward ratio. Now let's say you have found a trade in which risk reward ratio is 1:3, which is great. Will you then put in all your capital into a single trade? No. For that reason comes in position sizing. So what is position sizing? This defines what should be your trade size. You need to have a properly calculated risk before you take a trade. So point number 1, risk per trade should not exceed more than 1% of your total capital. And your use of capital, you should not put more than 15% of your capital into a single trade. So let's just take an example, and friends, this file is something we are going to send it to you along with the training material. So if you're taking the 10 times exposure, if you're taking big trade, select the second sheet. Let's say I have around 1 lakh rupees in order to trade. Okay. Don't want to take a risk of more than 1% of my total capital, risk reward ratio 1:2, 15% of my capital into a single trade. Now, select buy, entry, 96.9, 96.35. And target is 97.9. Once I enter this, it says risk reward ratio is not favorable. Do not take the trade. Let's say my target instead of 97.99 was 98. Still no, a little lesser than that might be 98.1. Now it says risk reward ratio is favorable. You can take the trade. You can trade with 1548 shares, profit potential free brokerage this much, loss potential free brokerage this much. So this particular sheet, friends, we will send you with the training material on your registered email ID within 24 working hours. So you don't need to worry about it. Please follow the money management guidelines and let this sheet decide whether you should go for the trade or not. Coming to the last part, let's say you find 3 to 4 trades. Which trade should you go for? So first, once you identify a trade, follow the trend on a higher time frame chart. So what you will do is look for a trend on a 60 minutes or a daily chart and follow the same. Use higher tops, higher bottoms, averages, super trends, etc. for confirming your trades. So super trend, somebody asked me how can you use super trend with RSI? See, compared to RSI, super trend is slightly a little lagging indicator. So one way that you can use super trend with RSI would be RSI single candle divergence. If you see with a super trend retracement, that could even act as a confirmation. Trend should last for 5 to 10 candles on a daily chart and last 5 days for hourly chart. Then check the daily supports and resistances. Like here, let's say this was a positive candle divergence I saw. I would just go on a daily chart and check whether it is forming at a prior support. So this is kind of a basing area. It's not at a prior support right now, but since it is at a basing area, it's forming a basing, so possibly this could work. That would be your analysis. So just go on a daily chart and check whether the confirmation of the trade is with a support and resistance on a daily chart. Check the broader market index. So see in which direction entire market is going and follow that as well. Higher the time frame, the better. And last but not the least, very important point, do not trade beyond your daily stop loss limit. If you've decided that on a particular day, you don't want to take a loss of more than, let's say, 3 to 5,000 rupees or whatever you have decided, if that limit touches upon, stop trading for that day. Maybe that day is not for you. Start analyzing trades for the next day, but do not trade beyond your daily stop loss limit. With this, we come to the end of the training. Thank you so much, friends, once again. And let me just take a quick recap before we go to the question answer round. So first, we saw how to identify a trade using RSI divergence. Look for positive divergence when RSI was below 40. Look for negative divergence when RSI was above 60. Went long above the resistance. Short below the support. long above the high and short below the low of the last candle in a candle divergence. Use supports and resistances for setting our targets and stop losses. And in the end, we discussed a very, very important topic of money management. Thank you so much once again for being there till the end with us, and I really hope this session was informative to all of you.